Man, every time I see this sunrise here in SoCal, I feel so blessed. Heading down to do the morning briefing, the ocean looks like an entirely different ocean here this morning. Things have calmed down and it's beautiful. I'll get set up and we'll get to it here in just a moment. Good morning, my friends.
Everybody, Philip from Friedman Adventures. Big news out of Ensenada. Sammy Susare Amador caught these Barracuda, rockfish, and yellowtail down there around Santo Tomas, the same place where our friend Luis Prieto had those yellowtail about 6 days ago. Excellent fishing for Luis 6 days ago. Then we get some inclement weather. The weather comes down and we see Barracuda and yellowtail, and that has got to be a great sign. Nice hit there for Sammy Susare Amador out of Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico. A sign of good things to come.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Philip from Friedman Adventures, and you're in Fort Lauderdale on board the Elva this evening, taking a cruise around Fort Lauderdale. Absolutely beautiful. Sean Morgan, the captain, is looking for a good time. His idea of a good time? Put the lights in the water and see what is attracted. And man, those smaller fish are called green jacks. The larger fish, of course, are tarpon. And there are copious amounts of both. Really exciting stuff. A beautiful night in Fort Lauderdale. Tarpon and green jacks surrounding the Elva. Hope you're having a great evening and hope you get to join Captain Morgan one day soon. Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California. Here in Southern California, it is an absolutely gorgeous and pristine sunrise here this morning. I mean, beautiful. You have to feel blessed when you see this. Did you see that lead in? Barracuda, right below the border, 70 miles, Ensenada area, actually 85 miles because Sammy was fishing down there off of Santo Tomas, seeing more yellowtail, catching copious amounts of barracuda and lots of rockfish. That is a great signal that spring is knocking at the door. Remember, spring is really based on water temperatures. That's what it's based on. With this El Nino, we've stayed pretty warm, you know, up there around 60 degrees in most cases. So are we about to get barracuda in Southern California? We'll be checking on that. We'll check in on Mexico, the long range situation. We've got an albino sailfish to show you. Pretty interesting stuff. White sea bass, halibut, and so much more. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. Oh, that coffee is so delicious. It warms your soul, and it is so great to be with you all. Before we get going, I want to send Dan Smith and his father all our thoughts and prayers. Dan, we are with you 100%. God, have your father in my thoughts and prayers 24/7. Hey, don't forget, hit that like button. We deeply appreciate it. When you do that, it means a lot to us. You can share these videos with a friend. Tick the bell, you'll be notified when there is new content. And, of course, subscribe to the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel. 4.5 million views on our YouTube channel alone, and we owe that all to you. Thank you so much. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, on Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We appreciate that so very much. We've got a lot to talk to you about. Let's jump into it right away. How about we take you to Guatemala and just show you this albino sailfish that was caught by Maciel Fajardo down there in Guatemala. They have excellent sail fishing down there. It was released, so you can rest assured that they got a photo of that beautiful fish and then got it back into the water. So some interesting stuff going on there. Down in Mexico, in Cabo San Lucas, there's still good striped marlin fishing going on down there. There's been some breezy conditions at times, but for the most part, you can come up with a striper or two. And if you can get outside, further offshore, there's still that yellowfin tuna wandering around. Occasional dorado and even an occasional wahoo still hanging out there in Cabo San Lucas. Down there around the San Quintin area, we get the yellows one day and then we don't get them, but we're going to go into this beautiful weather scenario right now, and I got a feeling those yellows are going to settle down and really bite consistently in San Quintin. Now that is 140 miles down below the border. I want to get that mileage with you straight all the time. Number one, in case you're coming to us from some other part of the world and you're not, familiar with the Baja geography, I want you to understand that, number one. But number two, it really illustrates how close that is to SoCal and what might be headed our way. So good yellowtail fishing in San Quintin and a variety of great operators down there, and plenty of rockfish and big lings also down there. Now, as we get you to Santo Tomas, that's an area that some of the Ensenada boats fish. It's 85 miles below the border, and they have seen more barracudas. You saw Sammy catch here out of Ensenada, a nice hit on the gar and nice big fish. He had a yellowtail to go along with it, and copious amounts of bottom fish. Closer to Ensenada, that Punta area is so rich and beautiful and pristine and rugged at the same time. And there's been some good calico bass fishing there. Out at Todos Santos Island, we see some good rock fishing going on there. Waiting to see a few more yellowtail. There's been a few taken there, and also some bigger bonita around Todos Santos Island. So we'll continue to monitor that for you very, very closely, because as we say, it's like a preview of what may be headed our way. Don't forget, it is tax season, and there is no better man to handle all of your taxes, whether you have past taxes that you need to deal with or you're just trying to get your refund. Tim Marquez at 8 Best Income Tax. Give Tim a call today. All right, we continue to watch the situation for you all here in SoCal, because things are really going to get interesting with this great weather. We're going to get back to halibut fishing. We've got a boat going for a white sea bass. And of course, this wintertime bass fishing has been spectacular. It's been really, really good. Boats out of San Diego will be fishing the bass again today. And one of those boats is the Mission Belle with our friend Scott Buchert, who's cooking in the galley of the Belle. Yesterday, the Belle was out, and they had a half-day trip for 15 sand bass, a calico bass, and a scope. A little bit slower, but overall, that bite has been excellent. Hopefully, they'll get back to it again here today. Scott says squid, sardine, plastics, all of them seem to be working when the bass are really biting well. And again, if you drop that mono down, or I should say that fluorocarbon down to 15 to 20, you'll get a lot more bites. You're walking that tightrope. Don't forget, if you're around structure, you're going to get rocked, or you're going to get dragged into, a sunken ship or wherever those bass happen to be hanging out. So A, you have to get a bite, and B, you got to get them out of that structure. So talk to a crew member, and they will give you good advice as always. Down there at Fisherman's Landing, the Dolphin has started their halibut derby. Many boats are doing that. We'll talk about the Native Sun here in one moment out of 22nd Street. But Fisherman's Landing and the Dolphin, they're doing their trips halibut derby on Wednesdays and Sundays when they focus on flatties. They have great prizes, and it's lots of fun. So yet another guy doing that. And back to the bass again. We've seen good fishing on several other boats, like the Premier out of H&M Landing, and many other guys getting in on it, including the Monte Carlo and several other boats here in the LA Orange County area. The Monte Carlo on their last trip had over 50 nice bass, sand and calico bass, as Captain Walt put them on a really excellent bite. And the Monte Carlo is such a big, spacious, fun boat to fish on, with lots of entertainment. With Brian Burrell on deck and Stephen Conradi, you will have a really great time. So hopefully that bass bite is going to continue to head in the right direction. I love what we are seeing there. It just continues to impress. Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing, they are getting ready for a big season ahead. They've got the California, they've got the Island Spirit, and of course the Endeavor. Give them a call today at 805-676-3474. You are going to love fishing with those guys. So we've talked about this yellowtail situation. I want to give you the overall synopsis of it before I get into long range, and then I start to focus on some of this white sea bass possibilities. The overall picture is really good. Last year was not a great yellowtail year here in Southern California. This year is shaping up and looking really good. Now, sometimes the best laid plans of mice and men go astray, but so far we see yellows moving up the Baja Peninsula, and we've even seen him there in La Jolla. Mikey, again, on his solo skiff, coming up with a great catch the other day with some big fish, and that show that he saw was excellent. So hang on, maybe in these good weather days, we might actually see some yellowtail here in the local areas, and that would be phenomenal. I'm going to be watching that for you very, very closely. A lot of yo-yo ironfish that are smaller jigs that you sink deep. They're heavy. You get them deep, you wind on them fast, and you set the hook by turning the handle of the reel. That's how you set the hook. So some really good signal and sign on that. Long range, the Royal Polaris is at it again. They've been way down, hundreds of miles down the Baja coast, as they have been putting the skiffs in the water. They've been catching a lot of reef fish. The yellowfin tuna bite for the long range guys has not been spectacular for a while, but they still manage to pick off 200 plus pound fish almost every single day. It's just that we haven't seen the quantity that perhaps we would desire on a normal trip. So we'll watch that for you very closely. A little bit of wahoo, some yellowfin tuna, tons of those exotic reef fish on the Royal Polaris, and we'll see if they come up with even more here today. We'll be watching that for you very closely. All right, Danny Cadota show tonight at 5 p.m. I screwed that up and said 6 p.m. I think earlier, but 5 p.m. tonight. Danny will be on the air, and he always has a great show. I'm sure we'll be talking about a lot of these different topics. Now, getting back up here and talking about the halibut situation, the native sun will be out again today. They took the day off yesterday. They run Wednesday through Sunday out of 22nd Street Landing. Their last few trips haven't been wide open on the halibut, so we'll see if they can get back to some better numbers here today. But overall, it's been fantastic with 100 legal halibut taken, 18 fish over 20 pounds, 2 over 30 pounds. Really spectacular halibut fishing here in SoCal. Again, last year I thought was off the hook. This year could even be better. And we see that kind of halibut fishing going on in the surf, which I'll get into in a moment with you all. But really some excellent stuff. Now the Pride on their last trip had 7 halibut. They had a white seabass, and they had some really great signal on the white seabass. So look out. And our friend Jolene Thompson is on board this trip. Jolene, I wish you all the very best and the best of luck on today's trip. I hope you get them. Can't wait to see a nice photo on the cover of the morning briefing with you and a giant white seabass. That would be spectacular. So we'll be watching that very closely to see how the Pride does. Sean Roberts and the crew on the Pride, they fish hard every single time. There's been a lot of guys who are trying to keep their sea bass catches under the radar. They keep that very secretive. I get it during this time of the year, but there's been some coastal tanks taken here recently, some really big white sea bass, as well as some fish at the islands. So there is more going on here that some of my sources tell me, you open your mouth and we're going to come looking for you. Open your mouth about specifics. So I can make the general overall comment that we're on the verge of some pretty good early sea bass fishing here this year. That is great news. We'll continue to watch that for you very closely. Marina Del Rey. Hey, I skipped over those guys. They had a couple of trips with 30 anglers, 85 sculpin, 33 salmon, 19 calico bass, and 14 whitefish. Nothing wrong with that kind of a score. Remember, rockfish closed in Southern California right now, open in Mexican waters. We will see the sheep's head fishery open up here in SoCal on March the 1st, and then rockfish will be open on April the 1st. As we are bearing down and about a month away from spring, it's amazing how fast this all goes by. So here we go. We're starting to move up on some really great stuff as we speak. In the surf, and I'm thinking about having a surf fishing day here in Surfside, California this Sunday. I know it's kind of late notice and I haven't quite nailed it down yet, but make sure you tune in to the morning briefing again tomorrow morning, my friend. Make sure you tune in, or maybe even later today, or check our Facebook page or our Instagram page, because I'm thinking, man, this is way too nice, isn't it? Look at this. I know we could pull some fish out of here. I know we could have a great Sunday. It's supposed to be great weather. And of course, Big Fish Bait and Tackle's right down the street, where you can load up on all the bait you'll need and get the lures you'll need. I know, I should just commit to it right now, but hang on. We're gonna just wait a little bit more. I want to make sure I get all my ducks in line, and then Sunday we'll have a little surf fishing day here, perhaps. More on that later today, or for sure tomorrow on the morning briefing. We will have details for you, and I hope you can come down and fish with us. I know late notice, but we'll keep you in touch with the latest. Some guys, Richard Cayo, tried to fish last night, and it was just way too rough, but he still picked, a small barb perch, and other guys did kind of okay, but it was very rough. You saw it yesterday in the morning briefing. This was a mess. Today it's much nicer, and with no wind here forecast for the next several days, it's going to get even more beautiful. Here comes the tide. Perfect timing, man. You're throwing a little chrome crocodile or castmaster, you got a good chance of picking a halibut off or a yellowfin croaker, and there should be plenty of barred perch hanging out around here also. So we'll watch this all for you very, very closely. Once again, there has been several halibut taken in the surf. There's been really excellent barred perch fishing from below the border in Mexico all the way up to Ventura County line, and beyond that, north of that, it's been excellent surf fishing so far here this year. Also, it's time to get back to some great lobster hoop netting, because after you have a storm and all of that inclement weather that we just went through, now is the time those lobster love to crawl here on your ProMarAhi.com lobster hoop netting update. Man, that is a mouthful. Gale Force is leaving today at noon. Tomorrow at noon, they go out and they fish whitefish and sculpin, load you up with some quality, great eating fish, and then they lobster hoop net it up. And they've had great lobster hoop netting recently with limits not out of the question. That is 7 lobster per angler, per hoop netter. So that is some pretty darn good stuff. Dawn to dusk charters with Jared Mallett. Jared's a great captain, does a great job. And you can see not only have they been catching copious amounts of langostas, of lobster, but some nice big flatfish to go along with that. You can check them out on Instagram. And man, I'll tell you, that is some great hoop netting going on there. We all love to see that. All right, my friends, we will continue to watch it very, very closely for you all. Don't forget, April the 4th through the 9th, we're on board the Independence. That's going to be a great 5-day trip. I hope you can join us on that one. Danny Cadota tonight at 5 p.m. I almost said 6 p.m. again. 5 p.m. Make sure you tune in. You can ask Danny a question, get the very latest on what's going on. Any breaking news, we will have it for you tonight on Danny's show. And of course, it's going to be an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful day. Absolutely pristine here today. I'll be watching it very closely all day long for you. Who knows, maybe we'll have some more surprises. I'll let you know about our Sunday surf fishing event, which is free. It's not planned yet, so it's not anything. It will be free. It will be fun. I need to put that together, but just give me a couple more hours here to figure that all out. Hey, have a great day. And as always, I hope to see you really, really soon.